Miss Jessi Bowman. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Space Jumper podcast. Of course, my name is Jared, and I am your host. Today, I'm excited about the conversation because, I reached out to you, and you had sent me a link to this thing that you were doing, and at the time, I got on there and I went to the link, and I was like, this sounds really awesome, because I read the description, and I was like, that sounds real intimate, So I went to it, and it was just an astonishing experience, honestly. So why don't you go ahead and start off and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah, okay.
Also keep that thing. Yeah, I forgot to tell you about a fist length away. Yeah,
it needs to be closer.
It's
okay.
Is
that better?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, and it's
Maybe
fully adjustable too. Yeah.
Move it this way. Okay,
and also one more thing. I left the Brita over there. Can you pass me that?
Yeah.
And I could get you a cup too. I was buying Mountain Valley water for the longest, and honestly, this has been the best thing ever.
Oh yeah, I've been a long time Brita user.
Would you like a cup?
Yes, please.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah, actually.
I found out recently they have they've got these reusable or Brita filters that you can reuse, but it's you put this certain stuff in, it's compostable. So you just use the same plastic container and put the compostable stuff in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds useful too.
Mm-hmm. And cheaper. Thank you.
Yeah, that was my fault. I should have asked before we got this baby started.
That's okay.
But anyways, so go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Jessi Bowman. It's kind of a loaded question of who I am and what I do. But basically I own a community darkroom and artist-run space. I'm the founder of it. I'm the founder of a community darkroom and artist-run space called Flats. We started as an exhibition series, held in people's homes or apartments or their flats. So I had my background is in photography and art history.
I can tell.
Yeah. If it's not, if you haven't looked at my page at all and couldn't guess that. But basically, I started at the end of college just working for arts nonprofits. So I really got my footing in my career based in small arts nonprofits. I started working for Photo Fest, which is so that was I had 15 years ago or so like that.
Wow.
I started working for Photo Fest, which is a festival based here in Houston. That's it is what it sounds. It's a photography festival.
Right.
That's a biannual festival that happens here in Houston.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And I've been interviewing a lot of photographers lately too. I mean, 4 in the past 2 weeks.
Really?
And, I find photography so amazing,
Yeah,
so.
I like it.
I definitely, I have to check this out.
Yeah. And then I transitioned over into Houston Center for Photography. I was there for 8 years. I worked as the exhibitions manager. I ran the exhibitions department. I, helped curate a few shows there. I did all the changeovers and things like that.
What do you mean by changeovers?
So exhibition changeovers. So
okay.
Yeah, took down a show, put back up a show, handled all the
Oh,
shipping,
my goodness.
did all the coordinating with artists.
Wow. That's a big role.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
We would have 1 week to do it, and we'd have 12 shows a year. So it was, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Or 12 shows including different galleries. But yeah. There was definitely a slight burnout from
I
that.
can see.
Yeah. But and then after I left there, I left there to kind of start Flats, to grow Flats. And I did a short stint at Project Row Houses for a little bit after that.
Oh, wow. And where's that at?
Project Row Houses is another arts organization based here in Houston, and they're in the East End. So in the 90s, a few artists took over a group of row houses in, sorry, I said East End, I meant Third Ward. And they have created art spaces out of them. They do all kinds of amazing programming. They own a lot of housing, and they do like mothers, like housing for mothers. They have like revitalized a lot of the parks over there.
Wow.
So they've done like they do a lot of like vitalization as well, or revitalization, as well as like arts programming and like free public programming and a bunch of stuff.
Revitalization, I think, is an excellent word for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't know that was a thing. And the event of yours that I went to the other day was actually the first time ever that I have went to a living space, and it's just filled and made so uniquely,
Yeah.
and some of the art that was displayed, and I have questions later about that, but I mean, it's really cool, the vibe that was set. So I mean,
Yeah.
How did that start? I mean,
So while I was at Houston Center for Photography, I had spent like a good amount of time working with New York artists, and specifically with an organization in New York called Photoville. And we were doing some collaborations with them down here in Houston. And when I was visiting them one time, there was this, like, we were just having a conversation about like the community of photographers that they spend a lot of time around other photographers, and they know so and so or each other or all these things. And I was like, oh, I feel like we're really missing that in Houston, like as far as spending time together.
right.
And photography it's a very big solo thing,
Right.
know. So I was like, well, I already understand how to put on exhibitions. I already get the gist of things. Like, there's a lot of photographers in this town. We're actually like a huge photo hub, but we were kind of missing this. Like, we have these two nonprofits, PhotoFest and Houston Center for Photography. We have one of the largest collections of photography in the world, thanks to Ann Tucker at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, and a whole photo library dedicated to photography at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. And I was like, well, where are they all? Like, where are all the people living and working here,
Right.
like as photographers? And, like there was always like this kind of joke amongst me and my photographer friends that I did hang out with that was like, you've kind of got to leave Houston to show in Houston. And like, that community just wasn't really there, and people just kept wanting to move. And I was like, I hate this. Like,
Yeah.
my job, my work is here. Like, as far as like working for nonprofits and like being able to curate, like that's here. I want my photo community to be here too. And I want them to want to live and stay here. And so I just emptied out my apartment and found a few photographers. My biggest goal was to be like, I want to find people that I either don't know very well or I have been connected through other people and things like that.
Sure.
So I think like I knew one of the photographers pretty well that I put into the first exhibition, and the other four I just either scoured Instagram or like word of mouth and was like, okay. And I'm still very good friends with all of them, and actually co-curated this last exhibition with one of them. And that was in 2016.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I love when people make connections with people, and it's a
Yeah.
strong connection, and everybody could help one another and kind of build off of their creativity and develop this masterpiece, which I think that you hit, especially on this last one. That's actually the only event that I've been to of yours, but I mean, it was incredible, and I'll definitely be back to more, because and here's my side of things. Here, you sent me the link, so I RSVP'd and I Ubered there, and I was like, maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Like, what is this? And I look around and I see people in just like beautiful gowns and dresses and suits walking in this apartment through, just like a little, little uneven driveway and things like that. And you walk through, and then you enter into this space that was just like, wow, because I believe you said that it was a co-curation with another photographer?
Yeah, another photographer, Ryan
And is that
Francisco.
who was set up in the front?
Ryan Francisco, there was none of her work. Oh, you mean the portraits?
Yes.
No, that was Studio D18.
Okay.
So Studio D18 is I believe they're fiscally sponsored project. They operate out of Sunnyside, Sunnyside Market up in North Houston a little bit.
Right.
And their main goal is to photograph the community and Sunnyside Market. They are both Hispanic photographers wanting to document and showcase and give portraits back to their community. A lot of their conversation too is kind of like trying to combat a bit of the machismo mentality in their culture and things like that too. They also do like a lot of other projects and things like that. They really started there, but they are, I mean, pulled in every which direction, I think, at this point, doing a lot for the community and for photographing. And that's why we invited them out to that show.
Well, I think it was a nice addition because it was like I said, it was a vibe in there, you know, and you walk in and, you know, there's people getting their portrait taken. And I mean, they're wearing, you know, amazing outfits. And I almost felt like, man, maybe I really should have prepared for this, you know? And so, you know, I continue walking and I slide this glass door open and into this apartment is a series of artwork around, you know, and everywhere you look, there's, you know, something displayed on the wall or, you know, the one that I thought was crazy was the fridge. There was, you know, the fridge doors on the wall, you know. But yeah, and like I said, we could get into the art later, but just the event itself was amazing. And so, yeah, you did really great on that. And who did you co-curate that with? I believe I interrupted you.
Oh, you're fine.
Earlier.
Ryan Francisco. So she is also a local photographer. She was in the first Flats exhibition, but she had also been doing, around the same time that I started Flats, she had also been doing like these exhibitions where she had been like, she did like a really fun like Xerox exhibition where everybody sent in a photo and she just printed it on a Xerox machine and like flyered a room with it. And so she was doing a lot of really cool stuff. So we would go to each other's things back in the day and stuff like that. And yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that is amazing. And like I said, it's amazing to meet people that are just as inspiring as yourself, you know? And so, yeah, that's really cool. And to back you up a little bit, you had said that you cleared your apartment out and you invited artists into there, and that was the very first Flats.
Yeah. So yeah, the very first Flats was in my apartment. I just shoved everything into my bedroom or onto like a little patio thing that I had. And when I was planning it, I spent like a few months kind of planning it, and my downstairs neighbor at the time was Scottish, and she was like, "Oh, you're doing I'm not even gonna try to do a Scottish accent, but she was like, "Oh, you're doing like a show in your flat," and so that's how we got the name Flats. Yeah. So, and then it's just kind of stuck, and now we, you know, probably another side tangent is now we also do a magazine called Flat Files. So it kind of like rolled into cool. Another thing. Yeah. So
I like that.
Yeah.
What's involved in the magazine thing?
So the magazine kind of started. Yeah, sorry, I keep going on side. That's why I was saying like loaded
That's
question
fine.
of what
Yeah,
I do. It's like there's so many avenues of what Flats has really become.
Right.
And they've all kind of started at different tiers and different times throughout this like process of me kind of becoming full-fledged Flats of whatever it is.
Right.
Like I said,
also I like your shirt.
Oh, these are the new Flats shirts.
What?
They will be coming out in like 2 weeks.
What? Oh, that's awesome. I want one.
Elizabeth Taylor's on the back.
Nice.
Yeah, she's at Marfa filming, or during the filming. She was like she was an amateur photographer.
Sure.
And she carried her camera everywhere with her, and the photo on the back of the shirt is her on the set of Giant in Marfa.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I definitely want one for sure. Cool. I'll be ordering one. You could get that on your website?
Yeah. We'll put them on the website, and we're gonna like drop them, I think, in the next 2 weeks, maybe, probably after 4th of July.
What is the process of getting shirts made?
I have a friend who's a manager at a shirt company, so I just like talk to her and she does it for me.
Nice.
I tell her my idea and she does it. If you need help, I will send you her contact.
Absolutely, that would be amazing. Yeah, I'm looking to get some shirts made, and yeah, that would be awesome. I would any help that I could get, I'll definitely take it. But yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, I'm over here jumping off on my own little tangent, but you do some really amazing things. I mean, and
Yeah.
it is all over. So that's what's interesting. So I believe that I cut you off when talking about shirts when you were explaining, the different things that Flats does.
Yeah. So we started as the exhibition series while I was still at Houston Center for Photography. And it was also like a way for me to exercise my curating. I had curated a really well attended show. It was actually like the most attended show at Houston Center for Photography at the time, called, oh my gosh, what did I call it? It was about guns and gun control, essentially.
Okay.
Oh, Sightlines. That was the name of the show.
Sightlines.
It's called Sightlines. Yeah. It was kind of about guns and gun control, but really it was kind of a meditation on it all. There was like everything from photographs that were of bullets that had been split in half and kind of these like really beautiful, like what the inside is so beautiful and like scary and dangerous all at the same time. So I really like wanted this exhibition to be like a meditation on that. Right. And there was like images of people who had been harmed and images of people who were gun carriers. And like there was a photographer who had done some work from a shooting range and then projected through the shooting or through the I don't know, whatever you call the paper thing that you shoot on.
Yeah. The targets.
Yeah, the targets. Thank you. And like another photographer who had used explosives to sort of make gunpowder explosives to make like sort of cyanotype images.
Wow.
And so, or to like expose paper and stuff
That's
like that.
deep,
So
too.
yeah,
That's
so
really deep.
I had wanted a way to. I ended up getting kind of stifled there after that exhibition, and like wasn't able to curate the way that I wanted to, doing more of that. And so I was like, well, how do I stretch my legs a little bit more? And so there was, a multitude of reasons. Like I said, I wanted the community. I wanted to be able to curate a little bit more. I just wanted to be around people too. So started that out of my house. And I did that for, I think about 2 years. And not out of my house. We did it. I wanted it to move around. The other thing was like, I was thinking about how stagnant like being in one place really, because I would see the same audience at HCP all the time,
Right.
And we had a set rigorous schedule,
Yeah.
And I could see how that created audience fatigue and how we weren't even really getting our board members to show up to the exhibitions we were doing. So I was like, okay, how do we break up this monotony? How do we break out of this white wall gallery system, but still see the benefits that are from it, And so, and I was just thinking about how hard it is sometimes for people to get out of their neighborhoods in Houston. So I was like, well, let's bring it to them. So the second show that we did was in the East End, at an artist named Ronald Jones's house. And that was actually curated by somebody else. And then we kind of went on, and I thought it was going to be hard to find people's apartments. But up until the pandemic, we literally had a list of people who wanted to host one, like a long list of.
So these are people just. What do you mean by hosting? I mean, this is their homes?
This is their homes.
And they're opening it up for the artists to come in and do their thing.
Yeah.
Really?
We usually
Wow.
install in one, or we kind of work on a show for 3 or 4 months. We get everybody ready. We kind of create a game plan, and then we install the show in 1 week. We have it. It's a one night thing, and then we take it down by the end of that week.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's hauling ass.
Yeah.
That's
I realized we hadn't done one in an apartment since the pandemic, and there was definitely a bit of like, oh, I'm getting older. But yeah, we did that. I mean, we did that 3 to 4 times a year up until 2020.
wow.
And that was with me working at Houston Center for Photography. And then I decided to step away from Houston Center for Photography, and there hadn't been a film lab in Houston for a long time. So I was kind of looking at some models of some other arts organizations. Like there's one called, there's the International Center for Photography, and there's also another one in Chicago, and I'm blanking on its name right now. But they kind of have this model where they have like a dark room and an exhibition side, and one of them also has a film lab. International Center for Photography doesn't. But so I was kind of looking at these alternative models of like, okay. And I was really learning a lot about like what running a nonprofit was like since I got to work for 3 around Houston and see just like the similarities and the differences and all those things. So I was like, okay, well, how do I create a consistent income for these exhibitions? And there wasn't a film development lab in Houston, and there wasn't a community darkroom. So I was like, well, let me just start that, and hopefully that'll pay for me and just pay for the shows.
Sure.
And so I started that. I left my job. I was, me and my ex moved into a bigger apartment. I Airbnb'd out our guest bedroom to pay for my portion of rent. I walked dogs. I installed at random galleries around town, photographed collections at other galleries while starting this this lab out of my apartment. I was literally at the bottom because we were on the second floor. So at the bottom of the staircase, I had created this little Murphy desk that just like folded down, and like people would just walk in and I'd just be at this it was so shitty. Like I made it out of just like pallet wood, and it was always falling apart.
That's called the grind.
Yeah, it was definitely the grind. And then my landlord was like, too many people are coming. Like our insurance can't cover that. So there was this place down the street from us where we still are at, which is on Fairview in Montrose. And it was up for rent. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to call this place. Oh, sorry, can I say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to call this place and just get in there. I think I somehow fudged enough like income. I don't know why they said yes, because I definitely could not afford it. I still don't know how I paid for it. I ended up renting out. So I basically moved into the place, rented out a few of because there's 3-4 rooms in there. So I was able to rent out a few of the rooms to like artists who only needed them for like a few weeks to make something or do something. So I could slowly kind of move in and out of the different rooms as their needs were changing.
And that's what you're saying, lab. Like, what is a lab? Like, what do you mean by you created this lab?
So we're a film lab. Like we develop film, like so people who shoot on 35 millimeter or 120 film or 110 film. It's like I guess old school analog.
Sure. Yeah. Like, I mean. So so you guys what is involved in the process? Yeah, like I said, I find photography amazing, but I know not really much about it.
Okay, yeah. So when you're shooting analog, it's usually some sort of plastic coated in like in a light sensitive emulsion, and that's kind of what happens through the camera and the lens and stuff like that. It exposes based on your settings, through a prism system most of the time, onto the film, and that's how you kind of get your image.
Sure.
But you have to put that like light sensitive emulsion through a series of chemical baths to make it not light sensitive anymore.
Ah, okay, yeah. I've dealt with some things like that. It's some genetic testings and things like that. But yeah, there's a machine that I've used before that, in a sense, does exactly what you're talking about. But
yeah, I mean, back in the day, you would have had to use. I mean, like Kodak and like Noritsu and Fuji and so many of the camera companies switched to medical stuff once they didn't need to make all the film developing equipment, because that started falling out of favor in the early 2000s with the big craze of digital and stuff like that. And now there's a lot of
those
it's
chemicals
balancing
are
back.
strong too.
Yeah. We can't pour them down the drain. Or well, we can't pour some of them down the drain.
Right.
But
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing that you realized that this space was needed in the area, and that you kind of did anything by any means necessary to get it done, and that's respectable. That's amazing. And yeah, so it's definitely running any type of business is so complex, so I can imagine, having to get the method of I mean, I'm sure you were familiar with the process and everything, but I mean, it sounds like with everybody coming into your apartment when you started this, it sounds like you were doing excellent,
Yeah, and that's what I mean. We're still doing really great. That side of it grew way more than I expected. Like, so we had also created like a community darkroom space with it, so that people could work along with shooting 35 millimeter, 110 or 120 negatives. You then take those into a dark room, and you use the negative to create a positive onto light sensitive paper in a dark room and through what's called an enlarger.
Amazing. And so that's another thing that I was thinking about when you were explaining this, and I was trying to figure out what a lab was, because in a sense, I kind of had an idea that that's what you were talking about, but you were also saying that some of these artists needed, space for around 5 weeks or so. What was that? Is that in the lab?
That was there. That was while I was building out some of the spaces. So I was that's how I paid the rent there at the time, while I was like building out and buying equipment and building stands for the enlargers and gathering all the materials that I needed and stuff like that. So like, they were basically paying my rent.
Wow.
And so was the income from the lab. Like I was still doing it all by hand by myself at the time. And now we've got a bunch of big machines. I've got a really great team of 3 people, which was, I guess what I was kind of saying earlier was like, it grew even more than I expected.
Right.
Because like, I thought that was just going to kind of pay for me and for the exhibitions, but it's become like a beast of its own. I have a whole team just for the lab side of things. Yeah.
And that was in 2016 when you...
No. I started that in 2019. We're celebrating our 5th birthday this year.
Wow.
This month, actually. So it's our 5th birthday this month. Yeah, we just released a really big commercial, actually, we have a 24-hour drop-off box, so we're trying to be like as accessible as we can to people who are
That's big.
shooting film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we did like a big spaghetti western short film almost. It's pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
We have like a horse just riding around Houston. Like, yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's really fun.
That is fun. Yeah. Yeah. I love when people do things that they love, and it sounds like you found something in your realm of interest that you really love and enjoy to do, and you're good at too. Like I said, the event was amazing, and it sounds like you're a very busy person. So
I'm tired.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for coming today. I know you said that you had a meeting after this, but yeah, that's really incredible that you're able to juggle so much at one time.
Well, I've got a great team. Like I said, they definitely help a lot. Yeah.
Sure. So how do you choose your artists to come in and set up?
So it always differs, and I've invited people to curate, so then they've selected the artist and things like that. Basically, I feel like I'm regathering my sense of the photographers that are in town since the pandemic. Before then I was just always on Instagram I literally had like a spreadsheet of artists, their styles, their works, themes that I thought their work kind of embodied. And then if I got enough kind of in those themes, I'd try to connect to them and things like that. I've definitely fallen off from that, and I'm trying to kind of build back up to that. Right. But yeah, for this show, for example, it was a lot of finding people who I've gone through people's feeds that follow flats, or one of the photographers I had worked with in 2015 through HCP, so I knew her already. That was Mary Margaret Hansen. That's the fridge that you were talking about. So she's actually one of the founders of HCP. So that was the cool thing about this exhibition, Interwoven, that myself and Ryan just curated, was we had a really wide age range of artists too, from 20 something to 80 something.
Wow.
Yeah. So in that case, and Ryan had brought in a few people who she had kind of been keeping an eye on and stuff like that. I went to U of H to see who was in their current photo programs and stuff like that. So I got we found one person that we liked through that.
Wow. That's excellent. When you find somebody that you like, that's big because there's so many people out there that are doing so much, so you kind of have to pick and choose, but yeah, that's amazing. And walking around the apartment and seeing the different vibes in each room and how each artist kind of displays their art and kind of expresses their personality through what they have set up is just really amazing. But I also find it amazing that you're going around and finding these artists, and choosing specifically which ones you want to come represent in your event. And it's tough, and what would you say some of the biggest challenges would be in running the several, would you say companies? I know one's a nonprofit. And
well, so technically, the lab itself is like a for-profit arm essentially, and the community darkroom, our exhibitions, our classes, and our magazine are all fiscally sponsored through Fresh Art, and we get a lot of funding through Houston Arts Alliance and stuff like that.
Sure.
But they're still under the same entity. So it's all flats. Okay. It's just a lot of facets of flats.
It definitely is. Yeah, lots of crevices there.
But there's definitely a lot of like juggling of like my schedule and other people's schedule. And like, some of especially when we're doing, and this was something that I hadn't really done in a while, doing somebody's house, is there's always kind of this like juggle of like, their schedule, like we don't want to be too intrusive on their space or anything like that.
Right.
Making sure everybody's timing aligns, like if something falls through, it's still just a one night show, so people could easily just be like, I've had one person cancel on me before.
Oh, and like before the show?
Right
before?
Actually, no, I've had two people cancel. One was a guy who like sought me out and was like, I was like a realtor company or something. They thought it'd be like cool to help sell houses that way or something, and then he just like ghosted me and was like finally got back to me and was like, oh, actually we just don't want to put holes in the wall or something. We were like, God. Okay. I mean, I think his wife ended up not liking the idea or something like that. So we had to find somebody, because
that's a lot. That's a lot of work to go through.
Well, we had already like greenlit the artist and done all this stuff and like told him, and we had like, it was like 2 weeks out.
Oh no.
And then
did you have to cancel the event, or were you?
No, we just found a new place.
Nice.
Or wait, no, what did we do with that? No, that wasn't the one. The one that was like a week before, we found another place. That one they canceled early enough where we actually I hadn't reached out to the artist yet for that one.
Okay.
The other one was some girl who, she also reached out to me through like a friend of hers. I went and did like a tour at her house. We literally had like sent out posters, like put out flyers and stuff like that. And she like said her house was sold. And like, it wasn't. I don't know why she said, and I don't want to like. She runs like a pretty big small business here now.
Oh my goodness.
In the Heights, and like, so it's kind of funny. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, what do you do?
And that was another friend was like, you can come use my apartment. So we were able to do that one, but that was kind of funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see where that could be. Definitely some challenges that kind of pop up. What about on the flip side? I mean, do you have any memorable moments in this crazy career that you've made?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I think what I really love is like the community aspect that when I see that really flourish. Like I've seen a few photographers like work on projects together after being in a flats together, or like go like this Saturday, one of the artists had a talk from the last show that we did, and two of the other artists showed up to it, and they might not have ever gone to that or anything, like
right.
So it was really cool to see that. They were like taking pictures together and stuff like that too. So it was really
almost
cute.
like building a community. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
The camaraderie that comes with being artsy, artistic and stuff. Yeah. What do you think that flats offers the Houston art scene that a lot of other arts organizations are not?
I mean, I think I think all the arts organizations are offering what they can. It's hard. We're all small staffed.
Right.
We're all trying to do our best. We're all fighting for funding. I think we fill in a bit of a gap as far as for the photography art spaces are considered, and that was my goal. Like, I never wanted to be HCP or be Photo Fest. I wanted to fill in the gaps of those places and
Sure.
create a full rounded like photo hub for the community, because like ultimately my goal is for artists to want to live and work here. So like if I can create more outlets, because I think there's only a finite amount of outlets right now, and a lot of
Right.
them are pretty competitive, and not a lot of them are just for Houston-based artists. So trying to create more of that, I think. And there's a few organizations that don't even have that at all, and there's a few that have it a little bit. And so trying to just create a little bit more of that for people is our biggest goal.
Well, I think that just from what I've seen, I think that Flats offers an amazing perspective in the Houston art scene. I think it's really, like I said, it was really amazing to kind of walk around and see the different art. And I know that there was a photo on the wall, and it was like kind of like a country style vibe. And there was a man sitting on the couch and there was like a 12 gauge in the background. And
Oh yeah.
there was some that I had brought a friend, and she was like, this one is my favorite.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
And so-
That's a portrait by Brianna Verga, and she works for the Museum of Fine Arts. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
I think that was a part of a project that she was doing, or something. I believe he was a zookeeper or something like that, or worked on some. I don't quote me on that actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, art is just one of those things that it kind of sparks all kinds of different thoughts, and each viewer can see the art and they have different perspectives and different ideas about what it is and what it represents and how it makes them feel. So it's really amazing to go to events such as the ones that Flats offers and get to experience a really diverse range of styles. And Houston is such a great place for artists and creatives such as yourself, because Houston, there's a full, they say the museum district, but it's really an art. It's an art filled city, and even from abstract art to portraits and murals on the wall. It's just such an artsy city, and I love everything about Houston. So I don't see. I think that what you're providing is really great, because I think that you're showing artists, hey, like, we have so much opportunity here in Houston, and if anybody goes to the events, they could also see that, because it was it almost felt underground too.
Yeah.
Like this underground scene
It
of.
was definitely like a guerrilla style, the way that we started it. And there's a lot of
yeah.
that here in Houston too. And it's, it definitely, obviously, I feel like I've mentioned the pandemic a few times, but that definitely, slowed or stopped things for a little while. But the guerrilla art scene is really popping back off right now.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
real hush hush. That's how it felt. I felt
Like a little speakeasy, like a little art
Yeah.
speakeasy. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it felt great to be a part of. I was like, man, I'm like in this really cool like underground art spot right now. It was really cool. Like I said, cool experience. But where do you see you guys heading in the future?
Well, it would be nice to get into a bigger space and have some permanent gallery space that we can just work with in like the front of our lab and community darkroom, and having a bigger community darkroom for people to be able to it's pretty. It's pretty small right now, so like having more space for people to work in there. And we've got like tiered membership levels. So some people are in there, they have access 24 hours a day. So like,
That's
but
cool.
it definitely gets a little cramped right now because
Yeah.
it's just an apartment. It is essentially we've repurposed like an apartment space,
Wow.
like a 4-bedroom or 3.5 bedroom apartment space.
Right.
So yeah, it's which also I guess continues the name Flats, but
I love the name. Yeah.
yeah.
How long did it take you to get to that? Because I mean, when it comes to people's names and branding and things like that, it usually a lot of thought goes into it. And I mean, it when I heard Flats, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, it took my Scottish downstairs neighbor going, "You're having an apartment in your flat," and me going, "Yeah, that's what we're gonna call it. That sounds good."
Wow. That's perfect. Yeah.
I thought about what renaming it would look like once I started the lab and stuff like that, and people were just like, "No, just
Yeah, it's
keep it,"
perfect.
because
It's
then
perfect.
people were asking, and that gets attention more and stuff
Right.
like that. And people are like, "Is it flat because film is flat and images are flat and blah blah blah?" And I'm like, they have all kinds of like assumptions or guesses
Sure,
or
yeah.
whatever. So yeah,
Hey, different perspectives, view in the art. You
yeah,
know?
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, but like biggest goal would be to get into a bigger space. Eventually I'd like to start like an artist in residency program. I'd like to bring artists to Houston to stay for a few months at a time to kind of like get more artists here working and stuff like that. And also offer residencies to artists that are here already.
Wow.
Everybody talks about New York or LA, but like you can really do a lot with your work here and not be paying. Well, rent is kind of crazy right now, but not as bad as it is in some of those cities. And like,
Sure.
and we're the third coast. Like we need to we're what, the fourth largest city too, is like, we need to have more for our artists and people. And really, cultural districts and practices are what bring, like a lot of audiences into town and visitors and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's like, why aren't we building more of that to keep that thriving?
Right. I think that's a great question, honestly. And I don't even know who I would ask that, I mean, but I agree. I think that I really think that you're onto something. And what does it take to become an artist of the show, an artist of your curations? Does it vary each event?
Yeah, it's definitely a varying thing. And like I might invite, like, the next show that we're doing is going to be August 2nd, and it's actually a part of a larger thing that we do with Houston Cinema Arts. So we have like an open call currently going on. That's for short films made on analog format, so like Super 8, Super 16, and like VHS, which are just different analog types and camera types. Sure. But they, so these short films, and then with Houston Cinema Arts, we curate an hour long out of the submissions. And then myself and one of my team members, Uni Gonzalez, we co-curate a exhibition based on, thank you.
Yeah.
Based on artists that have brought film into our lab. So like film that we've developed and like digitized and stuff like that. And we'll pick about 12 artists that we think have a cinematic style. So, and they each have like 1 to 2 images that we've selected of their work that feel cinematic to us. And then that's at the Deluxe Theater. So they have, we do a double showing, and then there's a gallery space there as well. So.
Wow. I love how in-depth this is. I mean,
Thanks.
How has curating these events changed your perspective on art?
I don't know if it's changed my perspective.
It's kind of enhanced it almost,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, it feels like its own art practice to me. Like I feel like it's like, like it's its own practice.
I like that. And it shows too, because it takes a lot to organize. I mean, even the podcast and on my side of things, it's tough organizing people to come and trying to get everybody going on a schedule that works for both of us. And yeah, so it takes a lot to be a manager, and it seems like that's also what you're doing and managing a lot of things, you know, because flats is just so in depth, and the more I learn about it, the more I'm just astonished at the development and the progress that you've made over the years. So, you know, some of the art would make me reflect on my personal experiences, and it kind of just displayed. It had just such a rich display, you know. So I really like that. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to hop in this art curation scene? I mean, it's probably pretty tough to compete.
Don't do it. There's no money. Like, we live in a capitalist society. Don't do it. No, you know, like, I think that I think the best thing about it, like, being able to curate something is that you can kind of do it anywhere and whatever you want. Like, my best advice is just do it. Like, you want to do it. Empty out your apartment and do it. Empty out your friend's apartment. Go wheat paste it all on the side of a building. Do it. Like,
yeah, that's wise words, because that's the key. And anybody that wants to start anything, that's the big thing, you know. And I even have it tattooed on my wrist. Talk is cheap, you know, and it's because it is, you know. Yeah. If you keep saying you're going to do something, you're going to say it. If you don't ever make that leap, then it's never, you know, it's never going to progress anywhere past a thought. But last couple of questions is, how are you engaging with the community? Like, how are you getting the word out there about these events?
Yeah, I mean, so we used to do like, with Facebook events and things like that, and then we do like posters and stuff like that. But now without Facebook events, we do. I mean, I guess they're still there technically, but who's looking at them? Yeah. I'm not looking at that. So we do Instagram ads. We stopped doing any posters and stuff like that because we just couldn't really tell what the return was on the energy and the effort of it. There's something nice about the tangibility of it, but yeah, I don't know. So we do Instagram ads. We have a newsletter, like an e-news that is like 7,000 subscribers. So we get a lot of traction from that. And I think that's it. Oh, and we put it all on the social calendars around, like, there's like social calendars through Houston Arts Alliances. There's social calendars on Fresh Arts. There's social calendars on Glass Tire. So if you're like looking for events that are going on around town, there's those. And there's one through, there's like another one that's like one of the parks or something does. I can't remember. But there's like a few different social calendars around town. So we put them on those as well.
That's smart. Yeah, I know the photography scene is crazy right now. It's and one thing that I've noticed is photography in general. It's such a strong community. You know, all the photographers that I've had on previously, they all know each other, and they all it's deep. I mean, it's a tight community. Yeah. So I think that it's really amazing. Are you now, with all this work, are you taking time to yourself to go to go out there and maybe do your own photography?
I am always putting my own photography on the back burner. I photograph like constantly around, like with my family and my friends and stuff like that. Like, I usually have my camera on me and things like that. But as far as like any personal projects, those are definitely always on the back burner.
Well, you need to make some time.
I know. Yeah, that's like a goal. I've literally wrote it really big down the other day because there's like a project that I want to work on, and I was like, start it now. But it's been definitely on the back burner for a long time.
Yeah, hey, we'll do it. I have faith. After seeing your events, I know that you produce some amazing work. So,
thanks.
Yeah. Keep on doing what you're doing, and I definitely will be coming to another one of your events because it was just such an amazing experience. I actually almost went to the one on Sunday as well, and I just got caught up with I think a podcast or something.
Oh yeah,
but
no worries.
I was like, man, you know, because I thought going to one would be cool, but I was like, man, I should go to the second one to see kind of what changed up. And
it was definitely a lot more just mellow event. Like, it was like the artists were sitting there, or you could talk with them, look at it was another chance to see the exhibition essentially in the afternoon and stuff like that. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. That's really amazing.
Yeah, so we've got 2 big events coming up this year. One August 2nd, which is called Admit One, which is the short film showcase, and it's the exhibition at the Deluxe Theater. And then we've got another one opening September 6th, and that's actually going to be a really big warehouse exhibition.
Ooh.
That'll be a month-long exhibition, so you can go throughout the month. But we'll have a big opening event on September 6th, and that's called Ephemeral Vistas.
Ooh, so fancy.
Oh, thank you.
Are you finding getting these names like Interwoven? And
Yeah, Interwoven, myself and Ryan kind of came up with, I think we had like a list of a few, and that kind of, Interwoven's kind of going to be a series, so it kind of made sense that they're going to intertwine into each other and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that goes deep.
And then Ephemeral Vistas actually it's an exhibition like about this sort of, sorry, I didn't think about talking about this. So I didn't really prep what I was going to say. But basically, it's like about like what we kind of build on ourselves and on our like community and on our on our our past and our, what do you call like practices, like your past, like your traditions and faiths and stuff like that, and how we like forget, lose, build on top of, destroy, do all kinds of things. And there's 4 different artists kind of working in different themes of that. And Ephemeral Vista, the title of that actually came from, it's what the World Fair was actually called. So like the kind of crumbling of what the World Fair ended up being, it was like such this mass thing that like people found out all their, new technology and new practices and new things from, and then it eventually also crumbled. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I love the history of that. Yeah, that's amazing. It's so shocking how people are so creative. I mean, it's really amazing to see what people could produce and what, how people can present things, and what you're doing with Flats is just so amazing.
Thank you.
Miss Jessi Bowman, where can people find you at?
I'm at Flats Presents on like all the social medias, or Jesmix, JESMIX. Yeah.
Well, keep on doing what you're doing. It's really amazing, and I love your story, and I love everything that built up to where you're going. So it's going to be a real pleasure, kind of watching the progress over the next or over time, and so I really look forward to that. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.